Okay, so in the last video, we took a look at reference parameters and how they work. This one, although the file name is a little bit weird, I want to take a look at the difference between reference parameters and return statements, sort of like where we would use one versus the other. So in this program, imagine that we have a scavenger hunt. So scavenger hunt of some sort. And this is, we'll say it's in a forest, so feathers are worth 5 points. Rocks are worth 3 points. And sticks are worth 1 point. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to take a look at how many points the user has, and then we're going to use a couple different functions in order to do that. So we're going to have a threshold at which they're going to move to the next round if they get so many points worth of things. So the first thing that I want to do is, if I'm imagining this is sort of a broken down problem, which is what you do with functions, the first thing that I want to do is I want to prompt the user for their findings. And then I want to determine if the user can advance, which is going to be 25 points. So these are the two steps to the program. Number one, prompt the user for their findings, and then number two, I want to determine if the user can advance. So I'm just going to break down this second step into a couple components just to demonstrate how the return statement is going to work. So now, if I'm prompting the user for their findings, that is going to be three values: how many feathers, how many rocks, how many sticks. So let's put some variables in for that. So we need int feathers, rocks, sticks. And this is what I'm going to start with. So while I'm here, I'm going to, I guess, make a function called findings. And we're going to pass it feathers, rocks, and sticks. So this is a function that is going to use three reference parameters because you can't really return three statements at the same time. So what I want to do is I want to send references to those actual variables to the function, prompt for those values, and then they're going to be set. So here's how we set this up. Now, notice that findings is on a line by itself. And the pattern for that, as far as this course is concerned, is if it's on a line by itself, it's going to be a void function. So void findings. So we've got three values, int. Now I'm going to abbreviate these here just so I don't make the line too long. So feathers, it's going to be f, int. And remember, the and sign makes it so that whatever changes we make to the variable inside the function affect the version in the original program. So there's for my sticks. There we go. So now what I want to do is I want to prompt the user to find out how many of each of these items they found. So cout, how many feathers did you find? And I'll cin f. Some people will make the mistake sometimes of leaving the and sign on it. The and sign is only to indicate how it's brought to the function. You don't have to indicate it whenever you're using the variable inside the function. So then I'm going to repeat that for the two other items. How many rocks did you find, and how many sticks did you find, and then put the corresponding variables with that. Rocks are R, sticks are S. Okay, so again, consider how this would have worked with like a return statement. I would have had to make three separate functions one asking just for feathers, and then it would return F, and then one for rocks, return R, one for sticks, return S. So when you are using, so when you need multiple data returned, use reference parameters. Exclamation point. So in this case, I need 3 pieces of information that I'm going to be sharing with another function. So because it's more than one, I want to use reference parameters because a return statement won't handle it. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to determine if the user can advance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a score function here. So in this case, what I'm going to be doing is I am going to be sending it again, feathers, rocks, and sticks. Just get rid of that for formatting. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to compare this to that 25 point value. So const int advance is going to be, advance is going to be 25. So as long as they have 25 or more points, they can advance. So if the score, so the result of the score is larger than or equal to advance, then what I'm going to do, cout you advance. Otherwise, cout you are eliminated. There we go. Okay, so setting up score here. Now notice that it is not on a line by itself like findings. It's part of a statement. So it needs to act like a variable. So what I'm getting out of this is an integer, the integer result of the calculated total score that they have. So up above, we're going to go integer, so int score, int f, int r, int s. Okay, so now what I have to do is I'm going to return f times 5 plus r times 3 plus the amount of sticks. So this is the formula for it, and then it's just going to return the result of all of that here, and it will tell them if they advance or not. So let's run this. Oops. Here we go. Run. Let's see what we get. How many feathers did you find? 2. How many rocks did you find? 1. How many sticks did you find? 5. Oh, I'm eliminated. I'm going to try that one more time. How many feathers did you find? 10. How many rocks did you find? 100. How many sticks did you find? 3. You advance. Okay. So now, what's the point of this? So what happens here is this is not only more efficient when you only have one piece of data that you need, but you can also take advantage of the fact that you can use this in a statement. So you can't do something like this with findings. You need like extra code to say, check to see if the results from findings will allow them to advance, which is actually what we created here. The other thing that's important here is you don't want to give a function access to changing these unless it needs to change them. So in the first one here, we gave it access because it needs to change them. If we don't want it to change it, we could potentially do something by mistake, or there could be something very sensible in our code where like you would want to count one of these values down to 0. But if you send it by reference, it's actually going to zero out the original one, which is what you have to be careful of. So the idea here is never send them as reference unless you're actually changing them in the function. Also, always use a return statement when you are only getting one value out of a function, because then that allows you to use it within statements like this. So, you could actually even have score equals the result of score, or something like that. You could just store the result in a variable and just be happy to do that as well. So again, hopefully this program highlights where you would use reference parameters primarily for when you need multiple pieces of data returned versus where you would return statement, where you need only one piece of data.